Hey peeps, Mark here. I just want to do a quick overview of StoryBrand.AI. It's something that I stumbled across when I was seeking some help for getting clear on my messaging, for my brand messaging. And so I saw that it had a 7-day free trial, so I opted in for that. Before I did that though, I did jump on YouTube to see if I could see any videos for how this thing works, not just how it works, but also the results for it. And disappointingly, I couldn't see anything that actually showed, what it produced when you used any one of these tools. So, yeah, I joined the free trial, and the first thing I did was actually create what's called a brand script. So, it was a case of just coming in here and then clicking on, well, actually, in the free trial, you don't get to see all those different options, but I went on, clicked on create, and then it asked me a bunch of questions. It's a whole series of questions down the page, and your answer for each one could have a maximum of 700 characters. Now, what it resulted in, I did like. The first version, at least, I liked. And so it gives you this character story. So it's the whole, it's the hero's journey. Okay, so if you've heard about the StoryBrand books, this system is here to help you to generate your story brand, well, your story basically. Okay, so this starts with the controlling idea, then there's the character, so what do they want, with a problem, external, internal, philosophical. Then they meet a guide who has these, competency and authority, who gives them a plan and calls them to action, and what happens if it's a success or if it's a failure, and then their identity transformation. I like what it did for here. I was happy with that, okay? But when I went across to the actual assets to play around with this part, what I found was that what it produced was still really quite generic. And the reason that is, well, generic compared to something that I would generate with ChatGPT. And the reason is that ChatGPT, for two reasons. Okay, one, it knows a lot about me. I've already uploaded a whole bunch of information, all the background information of my business, my offerings, what I'm passionate about, my strengths from the past, my visions for the future, my sacred yeses, a whole bunch of different things. On top of that, I've also created a custom GPT, which I call Lit Up, that knows how I write. I've generated what's known as a voice brand analysis, and I've also given it a whole bunch of different examples of how I typically write. And so it knows how to write like me, or at least very close to me. And so when I generate something like a post in here or a brand product story, it writes good content, but it's not in my language. It doesn't sound like me. It doesn't carry my energy. And because it doesn't carry my energy, it's not magnetic. It lacks me. And therefore it lacks that authentic spin which would attract someone to actually reading my content and wanting to work with me. So my advice for anyone who were to use this tool, the brand script is great. Play with the other things to see what you can get out of it that does actually, resonate for you. But to give it the spin that sounds like you, go to custom GPT. So go to ChatGPT, create a custom GPT, and I'll give you a quick tip on how to do that voice brand analysis. It's really simple. Just jump into, say, your posts or your emails, great content that you have written and that is original content. Okay, great examples. Get, say, 6 of them, drop them all into a text file, and then upload that into just a ChatGPT chat window. Okay, and then say, perform a voice brand analysis on these samples of how I write. Okay, so it will read that text file and then it will do this long-winded voice brand analysis, which then you copy and paste, put into a new text file, and then you can upload into your custom GPT. Okay, so then from now on, you can go into that custom GPT. Mine's called Lit Up. Okay, and I've also uploaded a whole bunch of other files and things about my human design, my genes report, and my gene keys. And so it knows a phenomenal amount of information about me. So anytime it does something on behalf of me, it has an amazing amount of context. Far more context than I can keep in my brain at any one time. So what it writes is infinitely better than what I can write. However, it's still not it doesn't sound exactly like me. ChatGPT still likes to insert words that aren't from my vernacular. Okay, it likes to use the word rhythm, for example, and it still likes to use M dashes. So I still have to tell it periodically, don't use M dashes, which is the really long dashes, which is very typical of an AI response. So you can tell most of the time if there's M dashes in there, AI probably wrote it. But since working with AI is becoming the norm now, it's not really that much of a backlash. We kind of expect people to use AI to some extent. Anyway, one last thing is this website review. I did use this. I click into it, and basically you just give it your URL, and it does a review based on it's like assessed according to their StoryBrand framework, and then it gives an overall score and then a breakdown of how you scored in each section. So I got 7 out of 10 overall, which I'm quite happy with. I didn't even attempt to use the StoryBrand technique. And then it just goes through each one. So mostly 7s. I got a couple of 6s and 1 8, and the overall score was 7. Okay, so I'm going to take this and then I'll put it into my custom GPT and give it my actual landing page or my website, and then get it to assess, hey, like, what can we fix here? What needs to be changed so that it achieves a higher score? But at the end of the day, I care more about the energy, the clear messaging that I'm communicating, than following a particular framework. If I can get the two to work simultaneously, then obviously that's going to be far more effective. But we'll see. I go for I feel most of all. If my gut feels it likes it, feels congruent with what I've written, then I feel much better about that. So that's my overview for this software. Will I be upgrading to actually pay for this, the $49 per month? No, I won't be. It's okay, but and that's the thing, is that there is nowhere in here to actually give it examples of how I write. There's nowhere in here to train it to write like me, and that's the failing of this product. I used a product called Mindspace.pal or something, on MindPal, where you did actually train it, and therefore it did wonders. But that was for a slightly different use case. It didn't help you with your messaging in terms of getting your brand messaging right. So 2 different products. They need to incorporate that into here to be able to write like you, and then they're going to do a much better job of getting me to pay for it. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for listening.